Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2 Super Mini Mail Call episode. We'll get right into it. This is a package from Seth in Tampa, Florida. You can tell because Seth always puts just here for the king cake on the boxes he sends in. This one is a rather big box, and unfortunately I've had it for quite a while. Sorry about that, Seth. And by quite a while, I think I got this potentially back in August of 2022. So it has been a little while that it's been in the basement. Welcome to box 3 and 4, the Langiapple box. This box contained all sorts of goodies for you, including some interesting electronic items, but also some helpful tools and supplies for the basement. Also check out what it looks like when Amazon ships a gallon of WD-40. Hilarious, see inside. Please enjoy. Thank you so much for all that you do for us viewers. Seth, AKA the King Cake Guy. And Seth writes, apologies for the Septandy item stuck in here as well. Well, as I mentioned, Septandy has kind of come and gone quite a ways ago. Now, the interesting thing is box 3 and 4. I'm pretty sure the Commodore 64G, that was one of the boxes. But what about the other box? I'm not sure. I'm going to have to email Seth. It might have been something I already opened a ways ago, because like I said, I've had these for a while. But I can't fully remember. I still have some unopened packages over there under my stairs, but I don't think anything is as old as this. I think everything under there is November and later. All right, where to begin? Let's see, let's start right here with this box. Looks like an RS-232 serial Ethernet powered PoE 1 port. So we have a serial port, we have power over Ethernet, I suppose, input I'm imagining. And this must be, well, it's made by StarTech, so this must be some kind of a box to allow you to, well, telnet in, I guess, to serial devices, which is pretty handy, to be honest. I have used an ESP8266 for such a purpose in the past, but it was always kind of a pain. And to be honest, if this does work properly, where I could see this being very beneficial is for my EPROM programmer, the Data I/O. It's big. I don't keep it out because it's so large. I store it over there on a little cart, but I always have to bring it over here and plug it into the computer to use it. If this works, I could just keep this next to it, power this thing up. It has a regular DC barrel in, and then I can just use it while it's over there instead of having to move it every time. I just have to walk over there and stick a chip in there, but otherwise the entire interface is over serial. This must be the Septandy item. So this is the Tandy Portable Word Processor, the WP-2. I'm pretty sure this would be considered like the successor to the, TRS-80 Model 100 and the 101. Those were actual full-on computers with BASIC, but most people just use those for word processing. This thing, on the other hand, it's very thin and light. It's not much bigger than a keyboard. And I'm guessing, based on the color scheme, this is from the 90s. But if you didn't need a laptop, you just needed something to do some word processing, that when you got home, you connected up to your computer, transfer the files over, and you're good to go. This might have fit the bill. Really not too familiar with this particular item. Pretty sure I saw Shelby on Tech Tangents do a video about this. Pretty sure that was him. So yeah, it's interesting. This power button right there, as you saw, it runs on AA batteries, plus it looks like it has a watch cell right here for battery backup. Pretty cool. All right, here is a pine sill soldering iron, another one. So Seth, I'm pretty sure you already sent me one of these. Of course, I have one as well that was donated by another viewer. And then I think you sent me one, and this might be a third one. So that's kind of interesting. What's kind of handy is these are USB Type-C, which you just plug them into a power bank. And having extras means that I could potentially use these without having to take my other one off the bench. Or maybe if I need 2 different tips at the same time, that's probably a better idea. As I have a bunch of different tips for these, I could keep them all installed and heated up and then just have them all running simultaneously and be able to switch back and forth between like a really fine point tip and a wedge tip quickly and easily. That's awesome. All right, next up is this, the Razer Plus portable charger. This must be to run the soldering iron here. So it says it's pre-charged and ultra thin. Hope that means it can recharge. It's not like a one-time use. Now, if indeed this is for the pine sill really works best, well, at a minimum of 12 volts, USB Type-C, and really ideally you need 20 volts for it to have like good performance. I tried using it off a I think it was a 12-volt pack, but only supported 1 amp, and the thing was so slow at doing anything. So I really wonder if this type of a thing can actually output more than, I don't know, you know, 5 volts. I have a little tester, so we can check that out in a moment. Alrighty, here is something from RetroTink. And let me grab the knife, because it has some tape on here. RetroTink, of course, is the scan converter that I use for all my Commodore duties. I have a RetroTink 2X, maybe it's called? Ah, this is the 5X Pro. This is not the one I have. This is the higher end version of the RetroTink. And let's check it out inside. Interesting, environmentally friendly packaging. Has this canvas bag that the actual device is in. There it is. So similar to the one I have, in that the one I have has component input, composite input. It's got S-video, it's got HDMI output, it has USB for power, but this one also has SCART. I don't know for sure if this has RGB input or if this is only component, which is what this is. Even though it's red, green, and blue, at least it's component Y, PB, and PR. So the one I have is the same. This one does have an on-screen display. It has a remote, obviously. It looks a bit like a Roku remote. Now looking here, it comes with this SCART video adapter here. So SCART has normal composite video and audio, and well, it doesn't really have S-video. That's sort of like a, I don't know, that's a little trick. I don't know what the trick is, but generally doesn't normally have S-video. But it does have RGB, and that's what I'm really curious about. I never really looked into it. Is there RGB on this thing? Would it be a good scan converter for something like the Amiga, something like that? Comes with a braided USB power cord. Even though this is the most recent up-to-date tank, it still uses micro USB for power. I really wish manufacturers and people designing stuff would stop using micro and switch to Type-C. I know there's a little bit extra, you know, chips if you want to do power delivery, but if you don't, you could just swap the jack. Anyhow, it's got a nice case that's injected molded, I guess. It's got buttons on here, and I'm assuming it's going to be pretty similar to the one I have now, except for maybe the RGB support. Let's see what it says here. And it doesn't really talk much about what it has on here, it just tells you how to use the remote. Okay. All right, next up is this, the Apple Writer 3, an introduction. Well, I'm assuming Apple Writer, word processor for the Apple III? Must be here. Let's see, Apple Writer 3 introduction will lead you through the basic features of the Apple Writer 3 program. Maybe this is a cassette tape or something, or a videotape. Introduction tutorial. It says what you need to complete this is Apple Writer 3 diskette, an Apple III computer with minimum 128K, an external disk drive, a video monitor, and a printer. Optionally, you have a printer. Condition of the box is, well, kind of rough. I like this though. That's the silhouette of an Apple III computer right there. There's quite a bit of mold and stuff on this, so wherever this had been stored its whole life was in a rough spot. So it has the Apple logo on the printing. It's pretty cool. We have a sticker, I'm assuming for a diskette maybe. Affix this label to the package for easy identification. Okay. Apple user input report for the Apple III. That is so technical sounding, isn't it? So send it back to Apple, date, control number, put your owner information, the dealer you bought it from. This is a report of a problem with an Apple product or a suggestion for changing or improving an Apple product. The problem occurs in the Apple III native mode or the Apple II emulation mode, or both. Interesting. You know, I could fill this out right now and send this in and say the Apple II emulation mode that was included on the Apple III should have supported 64K and emulated what the Apple II Plus was. Instead, it only emulates a 48K machine. So any software that requires 64K, it just doesn't work. All right, here's the diskette. Inside there was this here. Special delivery software. Interesting. And there's the disk, the Apple Writer 3 sample data files, 1981 Apple computer. Doesn't even look like their normal branding, this whole thing. But maybe this is the way Apple III discs looked. I mean, doesn't look very businessy, does it? Very interesting. There's that silhouette of the Apple III again on the back. I'm curious if anything else is under here. Oh yes, there is. That's the manual, it looks like. Product training pack. And it's definitely seen better days. Not sure what this is all about. Is this where discs went or something? Anyhow, I was thinking this was like a videotape, but I guess 1981 would be too early for that, so I thought maybe this would be like an audio cassette, but it is not that either. It just appears to be some sample files, and I guess an introduction. I'm not sure if stuff is missing here or there should be more. If anyone has any suggestions on how to try to like clean this up at all, if that's even possible, please let me know. All right, next up is this. It says, thank you on the top. Aha, looks like we have some Sierra stuff here. We have Space Quest 2 for the Apple IIe and IIc. Works on the 2GS, of course, as well. I know that these Sierra games, the interpreter requires 128K, so you need an enhanced Apple IIe or, of course, a 2C. Let's take a look at what's in here. Looks like the complete game minus any kind of box. So disc 1, disc 2, and disc 3 and 4. And then there's the Space Piston comic here. Now, was this included with Space Quest? I have to admit, yeah, I must have. There's Sierra written in there. I never had any Sierra games. Like, I never had official copies of any of this stuff. Oh yeah, okay, these are the instructions for the game. Looks like they're, it's really cute actually. They're inside of a comic book. So you get a little bit of a comic as you go through the pages. Then there you go, you get to the user manual. I'm sure a lot of folks are yelling at their screen right now and be like, that's what was included with the game. Yeah, I just, like I said, I never had any of this stuff, the real stuff. 3D animated adventure for the Apple IIe and IIc. Insert disc 1, label side up in the drive, close the door, turn on the power, and then you can begin playing. A little bit of information on how to play the game, how to save, stuff like that. All right, that is pretty awesome. Let's put that back in the plastic here to protect it. Alrighty, let's keep going. This box just keeps on giving here. Alrighty, 2 boxes to open here. Which one should I open? Let's go for this one here. Alrighty, there is a lot of stuff packed in here. 4-piece funnel set? Was this for the WD-40? This must have been for the WD-40, like filling up things with it. What's this? Cosmo Communicator, is this a phone? Made in the UK. Looks like a little tablet device that you can, well, it looks like it runs Android, obviously, but you can, oh yeah, you know, I saw someone with one of these. Where was I? Wow, okay, well, I'll just set this aside. This is gonna be a long video because there's so much to look at here. All right, next up is, oh, this is a power bank that is 100-watt power delivery. So this absolutely would work really well with the Pine Sill. Wow, that's a beefy thing there. Seth, this is really like Christmas. I'm opening this now at the beginning of January, and yeah, it's like a late Christmas gift here with all these awesome things. Oh, this is Deoxit. I recognize that. There it is, my favorite Deoxit D5. I always keep a couple cans on hand. I think I have 1 unopened can at this point. This is the packaging. Now, this top is garbage, total garbage. If anyone from Deoxit or Keg Laboratories, I guess, who makes this thing is watching, please, please get rid of this top. It is the worst. Anyhow, what I do, if I can find my Deoxit can, all right, actually my last Deoxit can, I think the top broke on it. So this one here, I don't know if this is what was on it, but usually what I do is I take that horrible top off the regular Deoxit can and I install one of these nozzles off like another spray can, just take it from something else. It works so much better. But my last can, when it kind of self-destructed, I think what happened on the last one is it ran out of propellant. What I did is I just puncture a hole in it, you know, when it's basically got no more propellant left, and then I drain out the fluid, and I have it in this little sample container here, and then I put it in my little dropper bottles. They have a needle on them, and you can dispense it much more accurately. And I actually prefer that because honestly, that spray can just sprays it all over the place. It makes a huge mess. This is so much better. So this is what I have left of that last can, even though I have the little full dropper bottle. So once the dropper bottle runs out, I'll pour this in there because this is tightly sealed here. And then, yeah, I'll have a fresh can. Thank you very much, Seth, for that. All right, this is the next thing that was in here. This comes from Apple II Online. It has a address on the front. What is this exactly? Something for the Apple II. It says it's fragile. Apple II Online Store has a serial number here. Let's open this. So to me, this looks like an Apple II card extender. So if you need to work on it outside of the computer, I mean, a little bit outside of the computer, this might be that. Like you have all the pins available and then you have another connector on the top, and I'm gonna have to go look up what this is because I really don't understand it. Oh, riser 50. So yeah, that's what this is. A riser card for the Apple II. That's interesting. I don't fully get for something that's passive like this that they would have a serial number on it. That seems a bit strange to me. All right, next up, what is this? This is a Weiss mouse pad, the thin computer from Weiss. Smaller, quieter, less expensive than a PC. Lose your PC and get Weiss. So obviously this was for Weiss's thin clients. I mean, the term thin client is pretty silly. In reality, it's just a diskless workstation, which existed so long before Weiss was making these. Now, I actually thought this was a mouse pad, but no, this is just an actual pad of paper, it looks like. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. These top pages are a little messed up, so I'll toss those out, but it's a pad of paper from Weiss. That's funny. All right, let's keep going. Looks like we have Monopoly, and this is for the Commodore 64 and 128, made by Electronic Arts. Can't say I've ever played this one either. There's the disc. It doesn't have the original sleeve anymore, unfortunately. Look, there's even a space for the 3.5-inch disc. Commodore 64, 128. Looks like copyright 1935 and 1985. Parker Brothers. The computer edition of the real estate trading game. Made by Leisure Genius. I guess published by Electronic Arts or distributed by them. Cool. All right, there's more. There are more. We have some picks. These are from Harbor Freight, a store that sells inexpensive tools and stuff like that. So this looks like a hook and pick set. It's definitely kind of useful. I use those little hook and picks, those orange handle ones for lifting chips. Those are from Harbor Freight as well. These are just the bigger versions. And then it looks like pretty much the exact same one. That's the bent one I usually use. Hook, the straight one. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, there's more. A manual, looks like something for the Apple III. There's that hilarious artwork design that doesn't look very professional. Oh, Apple Writer 3. So this, I guess, is actually the software and the manual for the Apple Writer 3 word processor. That's cool. So I guess I'm gonna have to break out my Apple III in this video. I haven't done that in a long time. I wonder if this video is so long, it's gonna be so long because there's so many items, that I'm gonna have to make a two-parter here. I think that might be the case. Alrighty, next up we have an Apple, technical introduction to the 2GS. All right, this is like a technical introduction to the 2GS. Pretty sure these manuals are archived, which is awesome. It's pretty nice quality. It looks like it was $10 originally. It's kind of got this glossy texture on it. It's obviously it's paperback, which isn't awesome, you know, because you can't open the book. It won't like stay open on its own, which is why the ringed binder type is better, because you can open those and the pages don't try to close on you. But I think this is not super technical. This is more just like, hey, you want to know how the 2GS works? Read this and you'll have a little bit of an idea. It doesn't seem to have all the technical details, like how to do the programming. It just talks about how it works, it looks like. All right, next up, oh look, it's a set of the picks. These are the actual picks that I do use. So that's just an extra set. That's pretty handy. So if you see me using these on the channel and you want to know where to get them, well, Harbor Freight, which is nationwide here in the US at least, you can buy these in store. I'm assuming on their website. I don't even know if they do mail order. Outside the US, I'm sure these are made by a company for them, like in China or whatnot. So just look for mini pick and hook set and see if you can find something similar to this. There are all the various tips that are available. The next thing, I guess, is the WD-40 that Seth was talking about. Looks like it's in a giant metal container here. It's a little bulged on the bottom, but it hasn't leaked. So this is bulk WD-40. Obviously it's not pressurized. There's no propellant or anything. Stops squeaks, removes and protects, loosens rusted parts. Whoa. Shoot. Oh boy. I guess that's how the dents got in it, from being dropped. Obviously the funnels, they're there. They are for filling smaller containers. There are no leaks, but yeah, it's It's been through the ringer. I've bought stuff from Amazon before that came in larger containers like this. And yeah, they just take it and they put a bag on it and they throw it in a box. So when it's metal like this, it gets banged around and it gets dents in it, which this one has. I mean, I might have just added a dent, but I don't think so. Like this caved in part here, that didn't just happen right now. It fell on its sides. There's a big dent right there. The handle on the top is smashed. Yeah. Anyhow, it's not leaking or anything. And I guess the key is to keep it in bags in case it does leak. And Seth included these funnels, which I'm pretty sure are from Harbor Freight, for filling smaller containers of WD-40. Now, why would I possibly need this much WD-40? Actually, I think it's pretty good if you have something that's rusty and you soak it in this, although I'm not 100% positive. Seth might have emailed me and let me know what this will be good for, but for now, I'm just gonna set this off to the side. Alrighty, we're actually making our way through this large package. That box is empty, and all that's left is this stuff right here. This little package here that was sitting there. Let's see what this is. According to this packing slip here, it says it's a DEC PDP math code processor or math processor or something like that. That's pretty cool. Obviously, this is not something that I can't use. I don't have a PDP of any kind, but it's a cool looking chip. It's got a little surface mount package on the top there, and yeah, okay, we'll look at that closer in a second. Alrighty, there is a note in this one. Welcome to box 4. Knowing your love of old CRT TVs and having seen you work on something very similar, I thought you'd enjoy this more rugged model. I wasn't too worried about the package on this one since it belongs in the back of a Humvee. Many more boxes to go, your devoted viewer, Seth. It belongs in a Humvee? What is this exactly? Is this like some military grade television? All right, it's unwrapped, and it's got a strap here. It's got an antenna and a telescoping antenna. It has a 12-volt lighter plug there. And oh, there it is. It's a Panasonic. It's like the other ones, but what? The Panasonic Ranger 505. Brightness, contrast, volume. It's solid state. It's got a UHF tuning knob here, a VHF knob there. And yeah, this actually looks just like, this looks like the other ones that I've had on the channel. So it's a Panasonic model number P880A, the Ranger 505. This one appears to maybe have an internal power supply, so it's got the DC barrel jack there, but it has a 2-pin connector right here for AC. Looks like it has RF connections there, vertical hold, horizontal hold. I think this is a very similar TV to the ones that I worked on. I composite modded one of these old Panasonic TVs. It says earphone socket right here. Wait, what? No, oh, earphone pocket. So you can actually put your earphone in there. The plastic on this case feels pretty brittle. Like I can't imagine it was like this when it was new. I'm almost feeling like wherever this thing was stored, it kind of made the whole thing very brittle. And then the CRT has a plastic lens over it, which is interesting. And yeah, I mean, bottom, not much to report there. So I'm thinking this is all the same lineage as that one that I've had on the channel. It's got a missing screw. I wonder if someone's been inside of this thing. All right, well, I think that's it for everything in the box. So at this point, I think it's time for me to clean up a little bit down here. The mess in here, which I'm not gonna pan around and show, just imagine opening presents with a whole bunch of kids, you know, when they unwrap everything. There's the entire disaster that results from that. That's kind of like what's going on at this point down here. All right, the first thing I wanna look at is the RetroTink 5X Pro with this remote control. Currently have, let me pull it out here. This is my existing RetroTink. Let's see, this is a RetroTink 2X, which has the similar inputs, composite, component, analog audio. It does not support RGB, even though the colors look like RGB, and it has an S-video jack right here. Has a couple buttons there. It has HDMI and micro USB for power and a couple switches. There's no on-screen interface for this, but there are some settings here to change, like, I think there's like a fake scan line mode. You can change the output resolution to be scan doubled. Basically, it's not 240p. Out of the HDMI, it's 480. It doubles the number of lines. This doesn't have hardware deinterlacing or anything like that, but the 5X Pro, which as you can see is a lot larger, after doing a little bit of reading, after unboxing it, it does support RGB on the SCART input. I don't have a cable handy, but it also has advanced deinterlacing, which this thing doesn't do. This just passes a deinterlaced signal right through to the computer, which you'd have to do deinterlacing on the HDMI device, whether it be a monitor or the capture system. There are also settings on the new one here for things like brightness, sharpness. I think there's like picture controls and stuff like that. The remote takes a couple AAA batteries, so make sure you have some of those handy. I'll just pop some alkalines in here. Since the original one I've been using uses micro USB, I'll just use the same power cable that's here in HDMI. All right, there we go. So we have a blue screen that says no signal, check input. As you can see, I have an Apple IIc on the bench. I was using this for something else. Composite video. It's a bit annoying, I guess, that the inputs are on the back. Don't love that, actually. That's a bit of a downgrade from this other one, because with the HDMI and stuff coming off the back, plugging into my little switching stuff, I had access to this stuff very easily right on the front there. All right, so let's turn this on. Hey, look at that. That was quick and easy. So clearly I'm just recording the LCD screen, which is going through OBS and whatever. I'm not doing a capture, but I will in the future. Plenty of repairs are gonna be done using this device, so you'll be able to see these captures, and if I have any complaints about it, I will mention it in those videos. But I'm just gonna drop into the diagnostics mode. Okay, so we're in a monochrome mode here. Let's see about switching that. Output resolution, 1080p over, I guess overscan. This is underscan. Okay, and here's 1200p. I think that my capture device supports 4K, but I don't really need 4K from this. Okay, I don't know what we're getting there, and it's nothing that works. And there's 720p. I'm pushing this button here, which is switching between resolutions. I'd rather just run at 1080. I don't need anything higher than that. Okay, here we have 480p. And there's 1080p fill. Okay, let's run the diagnostics again. There they are. So I don't know how to get to the menu. Okay, that's SCART. The home button is the input selector. Okay, so composite, obviously we have color decoding, SD-TV, 60 Hertz. If we push that again, S-Video, SCART CV, which I guess is composite video. This would be component, which is why it's in monochrome. And back to SCART RGB, and then there's composite color. Okay. Looking at the text in monochrome mode on the Apple II, it's not sharp at all, which I think is exactly how this other one worked. You have to basically go to component input or S-Video, and S-Video on this one, the Luma input was shared between these two connections, but component input is the same thing. If you hook up composite video to the green input while you're in component mode, you are gonna get a high resolution monochrome signal, which is why it was looking so sharp originally, and now System OK is a little soft. That's because the color killer that's enabled right now on, well, that device there has not removed the filtering that normally needs to happen for composite video to provide proper color without a bunch of dots in it. I'm not going to do a full review of the 5X Pro right now. That would be too long for a mail call episode. So I'm just going to use this thing going forward for repairs and stuff like that instead of this thing, and I'll have some thoughts on this at some point in the future. I don't know when that'll be, but after a little bit of use, I will need to try the RGB input with an Amiga and stuff like that. Right now I use my open source scan converter, which sits underneath it for Amigas and stuff. And to be honest, the Tink might be better for NTSC type RGB signals like the 2GS and the Amiga and stuff like that. But the open source scan converter absolutely can handle high resolution RGB signals like VGA and stuff like that, which the Tink can't not do. I don't think it can at least, but I'm pretty sure it will not be able to. So I'm not retiring the open source scan converter anytime soon because it's needed for those other sources. So I have a little switch box right here that lets me switch between 3 inputs. So these two plus one additional one like the RGB to HDMI. I do have to buy a short HDMI cable. I had 2 and I stole them for other things. I don't like to have a long cable here, it's too much. Anyhow, that is pretty cool. It's nice to have some additional options over this one. I am glad to have the 5X Pro over this one. I think when I bought this, the 5X Pro wasn't out yet, so it is kind of cool to have something with a few more settings in there. Not to mention, I like when I turn it off, it gives me a blue screen. This one gives you a color bar, but after a few seconds, that just goes away and you get a no signal on the capture device. I prefer this to help me validate that the whole chain, the input chain for capturing is working. Yeah, thumbs up to that. Alrighty, with the Apple II on the bench still, let's take a look at this Sierra game here. So Space Quest 2 for the 2E and the 2C, which obviously is what we have here. The discs look like they're in good shape. You never know with floppy disks if they're actually going to work or not. Turn that on. That did not sound like it was working, and the reason for that is because I have the, I forgot, right here is this hooked up. This is the floppy EMU, and it booted up into total replay. So actually that's just showing that the color is actually working nicely. I mean, not that we saw it already with the diagnostic screen, but we have working color for total replay here. So we'll just scroll through a couple things. And yeah, it looks good actually. I like the Apple II is very difficult to, you know, emulate, so to speak, but this is doing a good job. There's not too much when it comes to color fringing, which is obviously a very typical problem with the Apple II. There is some, but otherwise it's looking pretty good actually. So that is excellent. I just unplugged the floppy EMU here. Let's see if it boots the disk now. It's not booting the disk. In fact, it's funny, it wasn't even spinning it. Why? This disk drive definitely works in this machine. Okay, now it's spinning. Alrighty, booting a real Sierra game. I don't know if there's copy protection on this or what the deal is. In fact, we'll see if these discs even work. This is, I wouldn't be surprised, old discs that don't work. Let's see about this. Reference card. Put the disc in, label side up. There we go. Now this is a 16 color game. It is actually using double high res, so we're gonna have more than just the Apple normal 6 colors that the Apple II has. Now the funny thing is, I'm not sure how many 8-bit computers actually ended up with these Sierra games, because I think they needed 128K. There it is. Now, I know the Coco 3 absolutely did get it, 16 color mode and all that, but I don't know if like the Commodores did get any of these Sierra games, the ones that have the, what, AGI engine here, which, oh, there's the music. If you have a Mockingbird, I think it supports that, maybe? Memories, for anyone who played this back in the day, memories. Now the graphical update speed on the Apple II, it's pretty slow. Did you see that? How slowly it cleared the screen? I think an accelerated Apple II, like a Laser 128EX, probably help a lot, like speed up that very slow drawing of the screen. But it is cool to see, I'll turn the sound down here. It's cool to see all 16 colors though, and that does look pretty nice. And that's why the Apple IIc and 2E, you know, they have these double high res modes, 128K, and it allows for this kind of thing. So yeah, cool. That's nice to see that this game does work. Next up to take a look at is the Ranger here. This is the little Panasonic TV, the Ranger 505. Now what's really funny, and this is the one that Seth sent me, is I opened up the package, the big box full of stuff from Seth, a couple days ago at this point, and in between that time of making this part of the video here and opening it where I found this TV, someone gave me this, which is another Ranger 505. This one is in a little bit worse shape, like there are no screws, it's all kind of coming apart. And interesting, I didn't notice this when we unboxed it, is it has a battery compartment just like the original Panasonic TV. The original Panasonic, the battery door is right here. You put the batteries in this way, and on this one, they go in from the back. Now on this TV here, it looks like the battery door is installed. It does say Duracell right there, and there's a screw, so that's nice. This one is missing that. The one here that I was just given also doesn't have the strap. It also doesn't have the little cover here over the vertical hold control. And the one I was just given is also missing. The VHF control fine tuning is there, but the main knob is missing. They are both there on the one that Seth just gave me. I have no idea if either of these sets work, so I figured if one of them is faulty, maybe one good set could be made out of both of them. Now I had mentioned the plastic on this felt like it was pretty thin and brittle, and This one is exactly the same. Like the way that this second one I just got feels like. Pretty dirty on the top of the one I just got. The one from Seth is cleaner. It's still pretty dirty. It's got a little bit of a label residue there. You know, I don't know. I guess this this is original, this strap, because it does seem like it's got some metal brackets going on. And this one has holes for the metal bracket, but just a piece of plastic, and it's totally missing right there. Anyhow, let me grab a power cord and let's see if either of these do anything, show any signs of life. Actually, now I think about it, probably the best thing to do is just use this DC input here, 12 volts. I'll just use my bench supply. That way I can give this thing a current limited supply on the input. It will go through a voltage regulator, but we're not gonna rely on whatever 120 volt DC step down thing is going on. I'll just clip onto this. Let's power up the bench supply. And yes, if any young whippersnappers are watching, this connector here is not a 12 volt DC power connector. I mean, that's what we use it for now. Originally, the reason why it's in this shape is this was a cigarette lighter in your car, and the car just runs on 12 volts. You push the cigarette lighter in, it would heat up, and then it would pop out when it was ready. You pull it out, and there would be a little coil in there that would be glowing red hot, and you touch that to your cigarette to light your cigarette. So yeah, because people aren't smoking as much anymore, which is good, and cars don't even come with a cigarette lighter. They just have what would be called the 12 volt input jack, or 12 volt output jack. I mean, this form factor was designed so you could plug it into where the cigarette lighter used to be plugged in. The last car I had that actually had a cigarette lighter, I think, was my 1989 Toyota Corolla GTS that I had. And everything after that has been, you know, I think the next car after that was a 2001 model, and it didn't even come with a cigarette lighter. It just had a little cap that covered up the jack. Alrighty, with the clip leads connected, this one popped off the ground here. I'm gonna start at 1 amp, 12 volts, although this thing probably works, you know, up to 14 volts or so, but I'm sure it works fine at 12 volts. And power is off, and let's hit the power supply. All right, we're getting 0 milliamps, and we're getting 500 milliamps. Okay, let's see, is there any sound? No, no sound. Oh, hey, we have a picture. All right, so it is working. But there's no sound, and it's very dim. Let's see, brightness, contrast. Ooh, it is very, very, very blurry. So I'm gonna say that this thing probably has a pretty worn out CRT. I don't know why the sound's not working, but that could be a bad pot or a bad speaker or a bad amp. I mean, there's a bunch of things that could be wrong. But yeah, there's snow we're seeing here, and it's very, very dim. Now it's only running at 12 volts at 480 milliamps. There's not a lot of current going into this thing, but I'm assuming that's probably normal. Maybe if I let this run a little bit, it will wake up, so to speak. Changing the channel seems to do something, so we definitely have a lot of dirty contacts in there. But at least the tuner is working. It's not working very well though. I can just tell even from the static. I'm noticing that it just turned off. I'm not getting anything now. Did this thing just die? I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, it appears to have died. Oh, I think there's a bad connection on this, on this thing here. There's a fuse inside of this little end part here. So it could just be dodgy connection. And the reason why I think it's bad is because when I'm moving this around, there we go, it's 500 milliamps again, and it went away. I'm gonna put some Deoxit down where the fuse is, because I'm assuming it's just dodgy in there. It really seems to be a bad connection. If I push down the connector, the TV sort of starts to work there. Okay, well, all right, well, I just pulled out the fuse. That, everyone, is not what you should do when a fuse blows. Don't just wrap it in aluminum foil. This is ridiculous. Wow, that is dodgy. Who did that? Sheesh. All right, the solution was to just cut off that dodgy connector, and I've just clipped right onto the wires. I won't be using this in the car anyways. So there we go. what I was trying to do was get the VG91 out here to inject some RF into this thing so we could see it actually doing something. I'm going to be connecting it up with this, which goes from BNC, which is the output of this thing, to an F connector through a balun, or balun, I think is as it's called. I was always calling it balun my entire life, to one of these clips. Who remembers these? For clipping onto the screw terminals on the back of a TV. It's not a great connection, but it's easier than just having to constantly unscrew and screw connections onto the back of things. We'll just clip onto the bottom set of screws, which is VHF. Let's turn this back on. We're getting nothing. Wouldn't be surprised if the connection on the back is dodgy now. Oh, that's really dirty. That can't help right there. Looks better. I used some magic eraser, a little Deoxit on there, and doesn't look quite so oxidized. It's not gonna help clean the inside connector here though. Just put it in and out a few times with Deoxit on there. And this thing might just have bad internal connections too, for all I know. Oh, no, there we go, it's working. Okay, there we go. So it's back on again. I have this limited to 600 milliamps just in case something goes short inside there and it doesn't, you know, there's no fuse anymore. Let's turn this thing on. And I don't think this thing is actually working on the tuner, because that could be it right there actually. I'm on channel 13 at this point. If I change the RF level, there's definitely like something happening on here. So it is actually getting a, you know, some kind of a signal. Let's fiddle with the back a little bit. That doesn't do anything. It's almost like the fine tuning's off, because turning the knob, it, you know, you can kind of see something. Although, is this the horizontal hold? Is that the control we have? Horizontal hold? Oh yes, there is horizontal hold. It's on the back here. It's the lower one. Oh, there we go. Look at that. All right, that is it. Vertical hold doesn't seem to do anything, but horizontal hold did bring it in. There is a test pattern. If we change this, you can see that it's actually displaying stuff. See if fine tuning actually works. I mean, it does work, but certainly is a bad signal. Let's try a different channel. Let's try channel 2. Okay, channel 2. No, that's not working at all. What, channel 12? There it is. Boy, that looks bad. That looks really bad. And I have the RF output on this thing cranked at the maximum, and that's all we're getting there. I think we're putting 5 millivolts of signal into this thing, and that's the best it can do, which on any other TV, if the tuner stage is working correctly, it would work a lot better. All right, well anyways, we know that it's kind of working, and it's really fuzzy. Like that should be the crosshatch pattern, and yeah, that just looks like a whole lot of blur. Whole lot of blur and a whole lot of nothing else. Let's try out the UHF input on the back here, which is the top set of screws. Need to loosen those a little bit first. And we go to UHF, which is there. And there I am on channel 45, and absolutely nothing. It's almost like the pass-through's not working. Let's try 15. Yeah, there's just nobody home. Nobody home for the UHF at all. All right, well, so this one is working. Vertical hold, not working at all, like as if it's not locking on to the sync pulse at all. It could be because the signal is so weak coming through the tuner. I don't know if that's the problem, but the knob doesn't seem to do anything. The CRT definitely seems very, very tired. That's as bright as it can get, and it's very blurry while it's that bright. It does sharpen up when I turn it down, but obviously an image like that's not really gonna be particularly helpful. I guess our hope is that that other TV actually has a better picture tube than this one and can be combined, like I said, to make one working one. Let me quickly just grab that other one and let's power it on and see if it even works. Oh, I just noticed something. There's a little like tuner thing here for whether you're gonna be using the rod antenna or you're gonna be using the inputs. And I had it on the wrong input there. I had it on the rod. So let's just flip this around to the other side here. Wow, this is such a janky way to select, but whatever. Let's put it back on VHF. And we're gonna go, it looked like channel 12 was nice and strong, right? Or channel 13, wasn't it? So we'll go to 13. Ah, look at that. Okay, so now we have a nice clear signal, and let's turn down the RF Yeah, okay, it's working okay. Clearly we don't have a sync though. I know the picture is rolling, but you can kind of see the blooming that I'm talking about. Look how blurry that circle pattern is there. Seems like it's bad. All right, let's grab the other one. I set this other one to external antenna. There we go, the whole case is kind of falling apart here. Okay, 12 volts is plugged in. Hey, there's sound on this one. It's very scratchy on the pot there as well. Let's see if the picture tube comes up at all. It's coming up as well. All right. I'm just, oh, it's much sharper as well. I'm just gonna borrow the knob here from the other one. Where is this one? Tune to. Okay, there we go. It looks like it was tuned. Let's see, I'll put it on channel 13 there. It's trying to come in. It's trying. Tuner is very scratchy. I have the RF gain at max. All right, vertical hold actually works on this one. And yes, oh, this is a much brighter CRT. All the pots are very scratchy on it, but we have a good image there, even though the tuner is not working super great. But yeah, there's the crosshatch circle pattern. I don't know why the, could be just a dodgy connection here on the back, actually. Let's just fiddle with this slightly. Okay, I think it was just a dodgy connection. Let me get the horizontal hold dialed in better. I don't think the RF input is quite connected properly on the back, or there's like missing cables on the inside or something. Why don't we try a different channel? We'll do 10. Well, that's 10, and there's absolutely nothing. Let's do 12. 12 is dodgy as. 13 seems to be the best, and even that's not great, but there it is. Yeah, that looks so much better. There we go. Well, anyways, yeah, that's working. Sound is decoding as well. So that's it, that's cool. This one is actually in rough shape, but it freaking works. Meanwhile, this other one, cosmetically, I'd say is a little bit better. Although, I don't know, they're both pretty rough, but it's definitely has all the parts to it, except for that one screw. This one's got no screws in it. But definitely we can meld these two together to make one working television. That's gonna be on a future video, of course, not on a super mini mail call, because this mail call video is already quite maxi. Now, when I was referring to these sets being very similar to another Panasonic set I already had, here it is right here. This is the Panasonic, I forgot the model number of this one. This is the TR555. And this is the one, this Panasonic one, is the one I actually composite modded. Of course, this doesn't look exactly the same, but there are way too many similarities to this thing. Let's turn this on the side here. Okay, well, I don't think they're gonna be identical inside because it looks like there's some holes for some controls in here. In fact, what does this one say? I can't quite low, linearity, vertical linearity, it's up there. And the controls on this one, there's two there, two down here. So they are in slightly different positions. So they're not gonna be identical inside. This is the P880A. Of course, this was the TR555. Two controls there, it's got more controls. RF is up here, you know, slightly different position. There's the RCA jack where I added the composite mod on this one, so the tuner is disabled. Does have the same, you know, type of input here. Chassis family T505, and this is T508. So a slight difference there, but I'm gonna wager these things are quite similar on the inside. Now the funny thing is, there are two of these now, and there's this one, which was donated by a viewer and has been RGB or composite modded. But look, there's this one, which was also another mail call episode. This one came from Tim, which is clearly the same TV as this, but this is the JC Penney one, and it just has a less industrial, rugged design. The aerial is over here versus on the top. It's got a strap handle versus this plastic handle. I think on the Panasonic one, this front hood thing actually comes off. This thing, it seems to be molded. Now this one is not working at all. Looks like 220 milliamps, should be 350. It has sound, it has what sounds like high voltage, but there is no image. So this could be a dead CRT on this, who knows what. But basically these two are identical. Like when it comes to the controls on the side and What's on the back and all, it's the same thing. This is just the lower end model. Although I notice here the chassis number C01, it doesn't have the same chassis number as this, which is a little unlikely, but this is a JCPenney branded TV, so I guess they just changed it because of that. But I am sure all of these are quite related, and this one works really well now that it's been modded. And like I said, I just need to make one working one of these and then fix that. So that'll all be for future videos. All right, we switched to the top-down view. Let's take a look at this Tandy portable word processor, the WP-2. First thing we need to do is pop in some batteries. Looks like it takes 4 batteries. Positive is to the left. I happen to have these crappy Duracell / Kirkland batteries here. I wouldn't leave these in things for a long period of time since they're probably leak-o-matics. Alrighty, how do we turn this on? Power. Look at that. Oh, it's flashing. Must be a problem, maybe. Low backup battery. All right, so Citizen Watch Company, Something Good Incorporated, and Microlytics UFO Xerox version 4.0. So it doesn't even have a Tandy, Tandy thing at all. Let's check that low battery here, which is going to be inside of there. Alrighty, so that seems to take a CR2430. Do I even have one of those? I may not. I have a 2450, and I have a 1632, and then I have 2032s. So a 2032 versus a 24, I think the difference is the diameter. That's the first 2 digits, and I think the 50 versus 30 is the thickness. So this needs like a thin battery like this, but 24 millimeters in size. I don't know. Maybe we can bodge this in somehow. It's the same voltage. Okay, so I stuffed in some magic eraser in there. Let's see if that does the trick. Let's see if that holds it in there. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, look at that. Low backup, so it's still not happy about that, but it's not doing that flashing thing at least. Looks like on the side here is a contrast knob. I don't know what's good for the camera versus what's good for my eyes. I guess that's good for the camera. Looks like there's a switch on the side that says protect on or off. If I flip that switch, then it just shut the unit off. Let's turn it back on. Oh, there we go. It doesn't say low battery anymore, so I guess that that bodged in battery did the trick. New file name, Adrian. Looks like, there it is, like a word processor. This is a, oh, did the T key not work? No. This is a test of a, oh boy, you have to really type deliberately. Oh no, it's just the keys don't work that well. Like the O key, when you push it down, nothing. Okay, well, actually, when you push it down hard, there's nothing there either. Oh, that sucks. It seems like a membrane keyboard of some kind. So bad keys is not a good thing. So O is bad, bracket is bad, enter works. The K key doesn't work either. After pushing all the keys, it appears that these keys all don't work. O key, that would be the letter O, square bracket, K, down arrow, and F1. And F1, unfortunately, is all of these functions there. So you have to push F1 and like 1, and that gives you the help screen, and that doesn't work. But F2 does work, so I can like turn the status bar on and off. It does have a run command, phone, telecom, calendar. So obviously there's some kind of like terminal emulator built in this thing, which, oh, you can dial a number there. Okay, calendar. Let's exit out of this thing. I don't know how to exit out of this. It looks like there's a setup screen, F2 and S for setup. Oh, you can pick alkaline NiCad, auto power off 10 minutes, things like that. Escape out of here and we go to files, memory, RAM disk, memory card, diskette, tape, diskette. So this thing supports like a disk drive, I guess. On the back here, we have a cassette port, printer port, RS-232, DC 6-volt input. And on the side here, hopefully this is focused, there's an expansion card, so maybe that's the disk drive interface, but also memory card, things like that. There are some like tilt feet on the bottom, which is kind of cool. Looks like you have extended character set as well, like with lines and things like that. Kind of like, looks like the PC extended character set, you know, with the lines to draw text frames and stuff like that. There's a reset button on the bottom. There's a run function here, but pushing that doesn't seem to do anything. Oh, it's, yeah, F2, spell doc. correct spelling, print, layout. Anyhow, okay, well, I think the first thing that would need to happen on this is the keyboard needs to be fixed. So I'm putting the question out to the viewers who are watching, is there a way to fix these keyboards? Has anyone ever done that kind of work? I've done zero research for this thing. I haven't opened it, obviously. I haven't done any reading online to know if the keyboard is fixable. Is this some kind of membrane keyboard that can be cleaned, or is it something with a PCB that can be cleaned? Or are these little like remote control contacts that need that special paint to fix that? But I would like to know. Definitely none of these keys are responding whatsoever. Other keys are, but yeah, these ones, they're not even flaky. They don't work at all. So that is my question to the viewers. Yeah, how do I fix this thing? Now, I'm not gonna leave this thing with batteries in here. I'll take this out. I'll probably leave that battery in there, but I'm not leaving these leak-o-matics in here. Nope, no siree. At least it looks like nothing has leaked in here, which is a good thing. But I will leave myself a note here on the bottom, bad keys, so that when I go to work on this again, at least I'll have an idea of which keys are bad. It's a pretty cool form factor though, I gotta say, I like this. And for doing quick terminal activities, like a serial port, could be kind of useful. I mean, now we have laptops and stuff, but even 10 years ago or 20 years ago when not everyone had a laptop laying around, this could be a useful thing. Let's take a look at that DEC chip here that we got. So DEC, is there a date code? Is that 18th week of 1966 perhaps? Is that possible? I don't know, this one says 6604. No, it must be 1984, yeah. 19th week, 18th week, I'm not sure really. Oh, 84806, okay, so that would be another date code. What a freaking cool looking package though. Isn't this neat? It's got some couple surface mount passives, 2 different dies on there. This is like an AMD Ryzen, you know, with multiple dies for extra speed and functionality. Well, that's pretty cool. If anyone knows any history about this, please feel free to comment down below about it. Let's take a closer look at this Apple II riser card. So this will be useful if I'm trying to work on a prototype card or I have something in the Apple II that needs some troubleshooting. You plug this into the motherboard on an Apple IIe or whatnot, and then you can plug the card in there and it just lifts it out of the case somewhat. It just makes it a little bit easier to probe, especially if it is stuck next to other cards. Like if you have a disk controller and you need to test something that's in slot 5, this will be helpful. Although you could also connect up another edge connector here and I guess have it go off at a right angle, which, well, that could be handy for something like the Laser 128, which has the slot connector on the side. Actually, I don't even know what that would be useful for, but it's there for usability. Apple II online store, warranty void if removed. Yeah, the warranty on a PCB, like, I don't even understand. That doesn't make sense to me. If this were broken, like, there would be a bad trace and you just fix that with a soldering iron and like some wire. I mean, I don't know. That's pretty funny, actually. We have a pine sill here, and not much to talk about that. I've already shown that on the channel before. Let's take a look at this power bank. This seems like a maybe non-reusable power bank. I don't know. It says Engineering Plus on it, really. My charge. It's very thin. It's kind of nice. Input 5 volts DC, 2.1 amps. Output 5 volts DC, 1.0 amp. Now, actually, I do not have a load tester for USB, like a lot of other channels do that review these things and power supplies, but I do have a little test device. Let me grab it. Here is said device. This is a little, I don't know who makes this. It tests USB-A, USB-C, micro USB, whatnot like that. Maybe this thing's not even charged. Doesn't appear to be actually charged. Nope, at all. Okay. Why don't I plug in this, which is another power bank. And when you plug it in, it actually outputs 4.7 volts while it's being charged from another power bank. That is amusing. That's pretty strange, actually. I wouldn't have expected that. What I can do at least is take a look at how much current it draws from this power bank while it's charging. There it is. This thing is outputting 5.13 volts, and this thing is taking, looks like about an amp right now. Now we have the other power bank here. This is the Flash Pro Plus, 190 watts. That's pretty fancy. It's got a little pretty fancy display there, 25,000 milliamp hours. I can't believe that necessarily. I don't have the capacity or the ability to check these power banks for their capacity. I really can just use them and know if they're good or bad. I seem to stick to Anker stuff I know they're not like the best in the world or whatever, but I've had good luck with them. I have like an Aki one. I think that's another brand. I think they got banned from Amazon for like faking reviews or something. And one of my Akis, a big one, it can do, ooh, this case is pretty fancy. Look at this, it's like fake carbon fiber. Ooh. My Aki big one that does 20 volts power delivery at 100 watts, I think. Was that like 5 amps or something like that? That thing does work pretty well. Wow, this thing is heavy. This is like a brick. Must be, I think it's made out of metal actually. Oh boy, there it is. I would assume this is wireless charging here. I don't know if this is a button right here, what this is. Is this like a click wheel, like on an iPad or something? The charge ASAP, okay. Looking at the top though, we have 100 watt power delivery in and out, 20 watts PD out, and 60 watt PD out, so interesting. And then we have 50 watts out, to be like a quick charge kind of thing, or a quick charge 3.0, plus SVOC, that's what OnePlus phones use for charging. Let me just give this thing a little plug in. I have a charger here. This is what I usually run the Pine Cell off of. This definitely supports, I don't know, power delivery up to 100 watts, I think. All right, it appears to be charging, but I think it's totally dead because it charged for a little while and then the screen went glitchy, just like that, and rebooted. I don't know what's it doing there. Let's see if I can show that. The screen's pretty dim, charges a little bit, and glitches out. I'm gonna go plug this in upstairs, let this charge up on an even more powerful charger, and then I'll bring it back down. Oh, there's a button here. I think this thing is just dead to the world. The battery is dead. I'm wondering if this is like a Qi charging pad. I do have the instructions here. They were in the box. 7, magnetic wireless charger, and then 8 is an Apple Watch charger. Well, I don't have an Apple Watch, but I guess this maybe supports that thing where the iPhone locks in. I do have an iPhone actually. Okay, let me go charge this up and then we'll test that stuff out. All right, the next thing to talk about here is the StarTech RS232 serial port adapter. I just did a quick lookup on my phone and there were lots of bad reviews for this thing. One person said you go to port 100, tell them to port 100 and it works and has a web UI, but the web UI doesn't seem to change the baud rate and it's stuck at 900 baud. That's fine for me. There were other people complaining that some kind of software didn't work on Windows 7 and 10, but they didn't talk about the web UI, so who knows what those people are talking about. Anyhow, this thing should be quite handy for the purpose of using my Data IO EPROM programmer, which uses 900 baud, so it'll be perfect. And yeah, I think this will be great. Awesome. And let's look at this thing here, which is this Cosmo Communicator, which I think is a phone. And there it is. You flip it open. It's got a keyboard. It looks like it runs Android. I have no idea if this thing has like current version of software support. I did look up the bands that this thing uses, the LTE bands. And this apparently says it's the Japanese version. And I don't know, the Japanese one does lack a couple bands that are used here on T-Mobile, which is who I use for my phone. And why can't I open this thing up? I feel like I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, there we go. You just double flip it open. Cosmo Communicator. So yeah, there seems to be like a European version and a European/American version, and then there seems to be a Japanese version and maybe one for Southeast Asia. I can't remember what the deal was. And here in the US, we don't have 3G anymore. There is no more 3G bands. We only have LTE. And I think most carriers have no 2G either. T-Mobile though does still have 2G, but no one wants to use 2G for anything. So you have to have a device. Wow, there it is. Wow, this is kind of cool. So it's not huge. It's certainly not thin and light. Here's my Pixel 6 though, and it's similar in size. I mean, it's obviously bigger and it's heavier. Thickness wise, it is thicker, but I kind of would have expected this to be thicker considering this has a full keyboard. And I guess the idea is you can put it on the desk like this. Now the screen does just flip open all the way. And then you can type on this, and it's not a terrible keyboard. This is a typing experience on this thing. Now, obviously, what's inside here is the only screen, and I can't imagine this is particularly convenient for touchscreen apps because it's not like the keyboard flips out of the way entirely. It's permanently on the phone there, so you'd have to like try to use it like this. which is kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. Let's plug it into power here. USB Type-C, of course. Peel that off. Now there's a little outside screen there, which is telling us something. I don't know if this is like a button. Oh, that is a button. Fingerprint reader, camera. It's metal on this side. It says 128 gigs, Cosmo Communicator by Planet Computers. Let's see if this thing is turned on. Looks like this is the on key, maybe? Could be that this thing needs quite a bit more charging time than this. Okay, so this right here is the fingerprint sensor. External screen, camera, 24 megapixel, smart earpiece, light sensor, blah, 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 alrighty. It looks like the smart button is on the bottom. I was not pushing that to try to turn it on. 4, USB-C, or it's on the top. Wait, what? Does that has USB-C on both sides? It does have USB-C on both sides. Okay, well, let's try to turn it on with this button here. Hold it down. Okay. I bet you this just needs more charging. I don't know what this is trying to tell me. There's a line through it. I don't know. Looks like it supports a micro SD card slot and a SIM card, a nano SIM. So left port is for pump express fast charging, single peripheral Ethernet support, and a USB-C hub. And then the other side, the port is for regular charging, single peripheral, and HDMI output. Wow, it's a pretty capable device here, I have to say. Oh, there we go. Okay, so yes, this thing really did need more battery charge. So I just need to leave this charging for longer. And then we'll be able to boot it up. Look, there's a blue light there now. So that's a good sign as well. Let's see what else is in the box. I think there's more under here. There's the cloth. There's the stickers. A couple been removed. I don't know, this was probably the manual originally. This must have been something that Seth had bought, played around with, and then was not impressed with. I'm thinking that's what's going on. There is the charger. It does have a US style plug, but that's because Japan uses the same plug as the US anyways. And we have a USB-A to C cable, and that's it. Here is the battery bank that was charging upstairs, and it's up to 20%. I know it's really hard to read, but I charged it. It was charging pretty fast. I think it was charging at like 3.5 amps at 20 volts. Here's an iPhone. I took the case off. I don't know if this can wirelessly charge. It's definitely like holding on, like so the magnetic part is working. I just don't know which way it's supposed to go. There? The phone is charging upstairs. I put it on the wireless charger and it started charging, but it is not charging here. There, this way. Nope. I don't know. Battery bank on? Maybe you have to hold the button down. Maybe I should read the manual on it to figure out how to make that work. Oh, look. So which way does it work? There. Doesn't seem to hold on very tightly because, you know, the camera bump on this is hitting the thing. Okay, well, at least it's got wireless charging. I guess that's kind of cool, I suppose. Not very magnetic. I could feel it kind of hold on right there. This is this MagSafe thing that Apple made. Not charging there, so it does kind of work that way. But why doesn't it work when I turn the phone? Oh, it does. Okay, maybe. Okay, phone's not charging. I don't know. It wants to stay there, and yeah, it's not charging. I don't know. Wireless charging to me is dumb. It makes the phone really hot. It's if you don't put it in the right spot, it doesn't charge. I mean, I've tried to use wireless charging to sleep when I go to sleep, and then I wake up in the morning, the phone didn't charge because I didn't have it exactly in the right spot, and I don't know. Look, what is it doing? Not charging. Unless it's off. Is that charging? I guess that's charging. Okay, that was charging there. I don't know. It doesn't even seem reliable. There it goes. Maybe you just have to wait. Who knows? Yeah, this thing does seem to support all sorts of different voltages, charging current rates, things like that, which is pretty cool. It's pretty chonky, but I'd definitely be able to like charge my laptop with this thing, which I think is pretty cool if you have a laptop with USB Type-C. All right, I want to test this thing with the pine sill here. So I'm going to plug in the cable here to the 100 watt port. I have my pine sill and nothing. Let's try a different port here. Let's try the 60 watt power delivery port. Oh, there we go. The pine sill powered up and it's running. It's drawing 40 watts. I know the screen is very hard to see, but why isn't the Pine still able to power off this port? Could be this thing is at low charge, it's at 14% right now. Maybe that's not enough for it to run that port. Maybe if I read the manual, that would help, but I haven't, so I'm not going to, because a power bank shouldn't really need to read a manual to use the power bank. That's my thoughts. Is this phone charged up a little more? 7%. All right, it is charging. Let's hold that power button down. Okay, we got a little vibrate out of it. Oh, Planet, powered by Android. I've never used one of these at all. I suppose because this supports like multiple USB ports, you could plug in a little controller, a little game action, install some games, emulators and stuff on this. I'm not sure how great it would be as a phone. Probably a really old version of Android. Word and Excel, Skype, Airmail, Agenda, Notes. These must be things that, I don't know, come with this phone. Let's see what version of Android this thing is. The Cosmo Communicator. It's got 2 SIM card slots, apparently. There it is, Android 9. Whoops, that is pretty old there. It's got a January 2021 security patch. I don't know when this device came out. Big bezels. But I guess this is really designed for landscape usage. Like there's the dialer. Interesting text messages and okay, it looks like that icon we saw on the outside was for the cover display assistant, which I guess allows it to do stuff on the outside. I connected to my Wi-Fi here and I'm trying to connect to YouTube, but I think the version of the app is way too old, so it needs to be updated. And that is probably going to be too much for this video. And it says say no updates are available when I'm going to update the OS. So I guess this thing is stuck at Android 9. It's kind of one of the problems without, you know, if you buy a phone that's not a Samsung or not something like a Google Pixel, is you're going to be potentially stuck with old versions of Android, which, you know, are going to work, but you're just not going to get the security updates. It's stuck on 2021. That's like, what, 2 years old now, the security updates. So there's going to be plenty of vulnerabilities on a device like this. That's just not reassuring if you're trying to use it to actually secure your data. iPhones definitely are far better when it comes to software updates. Apple supports their devices for many, many years, so you're not stuck with something that, you know, is going to be full of vulns and stuff. But it is a fun device. The form factor is neat. I mean, there it is compared to the iPhone, and it's, you know, opens up to be twice as big there, so you can have your keyboard and do, you know, Telnet or SSH into things, whatnot, and have much easier experience typing. Although, now that I look at this, it's got, obviously it's Japanese because we have all the extra Japanese characters. Where are things like the brackets, square brackets and things? Ah, there they are. Okay. So if you want to get to those, you have to do something to get to those. Function maybe? Ah, yeah, function gives you brackets. So that's good if you're doing, you know, SSH work, you're connecting into a Linux box or something. You can type these special characters, backslash, things like that. It is interesting how this thing opens. You see this like metal thing here. Obviously has the hinge and the like cable for the screen and stuff. And when you close it, you see there, it's like flush against the case. And you open it up and there it is. Got a little gap there. It is metal though. Well, yeah, I think that's metal. It's not plastic. I wonder if Zach from Jerry Rig Everything has stress tested this device, which surely was very expensive a few years ago when this thing came out. If anyone's got one of these things or they have used one of these and they are familiar with this device and can tell me about maybe third-party ROM, stuff like that, definitely let me know in the comment section. Okay, so something seems to be wrong with this phone actually. It says it's trying to flash the firmware on the cover because it said there was an update available. And it says this process takes 20 minutes and you let it sit here for a little while and then it will say flashing error. So there's something going on with the cover display on this, which is why it has that weird icon. I'm assuming that means that there's a problem of some kind. And there it is, error updating cover display, and up here, cover display not responding. I don't know if there's a way to fix this. Start server, flash manually, reset cover display. Let me try that. Resetting cover display. Does that actually change anything here? It's just a blank screen on there now. Now this may be something that Seth already told me is wrong with this thing, and I don't remember because he might have told me this months ago. So I think I might need to check my emails while I'm editing this video, and I will be able to put an update in there. But yeah, resetting cover display, and it doesn't do anything. Retry flash. While this phone tries to update, let's just look at these hook and pick sets. So these are the two of them. So again, if you're at Harbor Freight and you live in the US, you can pick these up. These in my left hand are invaluable to me. I absolutely love these Pittsburgh mini pick and hook. I think you can buy these anywhere though. Just sort of look on eBay, Amazon, things like that. You'll be able to find these. You don't have to buy the Pittsburgh Harbor Freight brand. I'm sure many other companies sell these and there may be better ones out there. But the sort of bent hook, which is this one right here, second from the left, is awesome for getting chips out of boards. I use those all the time for desoldering chips out of motherboards. I use heat and then use that to gently lift the chip out, and I don't lift traces. This one here seems like just a mega version. In fact, these ones though, I mean, these are obviously large, but these smaller ones seem to be the same as these, but I think they're just the same. They're about the same size, maybe slightly larger. The Apple III software, we'll have to take a look at a future time. My Apple III is upstairs. It's not inaccessible, but it's a bit of a pain to get it down, so I'm not gonna do that for this mail call episode. But I do need to get that thing down because I think it needs a little bit of a repair, and that'll be a good opportunity to try this out. I also want to test out the RGB to HDMI on the Apple III because it does support the RGB color output that thing has, because I don't actually have any other way to display the color output on the Apple III except for that. So I'll be doing that at some point in the future. And the Apple II GS Technical Introduction, very strange book. I don't really know the purpose of this, why you wouldn't just get the full version that has all of the info, other than the fact that, like I said, this is only $10. There is the ISBN number if anyone is interested in this book. I don't know how like common this is or whatnot, but there it is. 8-bit Apple II program, CPU mode emulation, E=1. 2GS programs, native. Accumulator size, index register size, 8 versus 16 bits. Execution speed, 1 megahertz or 2.8, or 2.8 for the 2GS. Yes, this could have been much faster. The native speed could have been 8 megahertz, and then the 2GS would have been able to fly, really fly. That was what Steve Jobs, at least the rumor is, that he artificially limited the 2GS to this really slow 2.8 megahertz, which absolutely hampered the machine. It would have probably seemed faster to use than a Macintosh even, because the 6502 and the C816 is just a very fast, efficient processor, and it would have been a very quick machine. But that is not how history happened, and yeah, 2GS, unfortunately, was just an education machine with some games and never really went anywhere. It was the end of the Apple II line. And we have Monopoly for the 64 and the 120. I'm not going to try this out either on this video. This video is already way too long. In fact, I really got to end this video. It looks like this failed the flash again, so that appears to not be working. So quit. Cover is up to date. I mean, what is happening? Why does this thing say it's up to date? Download error. Oh, I don't know. This whole thing is very weird, this whole device. All right, let's see how I turn this thing off. You hold down the power button maybe, or not. Oh, looks like you have to hold down function and escape, and then we can push power off there. Shutting down. All right, and that is going to be it for this episode of Super Mini Mail Call. But incidentally, the phone here is actually trying to flash the firmware or the screen, the external cover screen firmware. It's up to 48%, but it's kind of frozen. So I don't know what's going on with it. And the other weird thing is the side power button doesn't appear to work anymore. The outside cover doesn't seem to do anything. Side power button doesn't do anything. When you open it up, it does wake up, but you can push the function and escape key to actually wake and shut the screen off. So I shut it down properly with the button on the side, or no, this button, and then this button didn't do anything. So I'm assuming that button must be somehow tied to this external firmware here, and that's preventing it from working. So I don't know what's going on there. But the camera works, so the external camera, the one on the cover, and the inside camera. So I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully that can recover itself. But that's it. There's a lot of stuff here. I didn't cover quite everything in this video. There will be a repair video for this TV, well, the other one as well, the parts combo one to make one good one. I'm looking for advice on fixing the keys on this Tandy word processor. The RetroTink 5X Pro will be used, of course, in lots of video production. The StarTAC serial thing, I'll have to get that working. And next time I have the EPROM programmer out, I'll talk a little bit about this thing. But judging by the terrible, poor reviews of this, I'm not sure I'd recommend anyone actually buy this. The power bank and the pine cell will come in handy next time I'm doing some soldering away from the bench here. Next time I have a 1541 on the bench that I'm working on, I'll have to try out that Monopoly game as well. I don't have a disk drive handy to test it with. Deoxit, of course, will come in handy. Everyone knows I will use that. These extra picks will be handy as well. And I think I've covered everything. So that is it for this maxi edition of Super Mini Mail Call. Thank you, Seth, for sending in all this stuff. Lots of interesting things here. And if you've gotten to this point in the video, thumbs up if you like this video, but if you didn't like it, you know what to do. Thanks to my patrons. Their names are scrolling up the side of the screen. And I guess that is going to be that. This has been a long video to make. It is now time for some dinner. I'm starving. So stay healthy, stay safe. I will see you next time. Bye.